Hello everyone, it's Jessica Michaels here with a Cherry on Top. Today is our monthly YouTube hop, and our theme this month is Fun in the Sun, which is one of my favorite things because I get to scrap all of our beach adventures or any kind of fun summer activity. So I've got a cut file here that I have cut out just with some white cardstock. It's called the Popsicles cut file. You can find it in the Cherry on Top shop, and I will link it down below in my description for you as well. And I just cut that again in white cardstock, and I cut there's one solid one you can see there on the right with the little heart in it. I cut that one separately out of that pattern paper that I grabbed from the small paper pad here on the top left of my screen in that beautiful kind of wave pattern design. I'm going to go ahead and back these designs with some photos for a couple of them, and then the third one I'm going to back with a few different pattern papers from that small paper pad as well. You can see here that I've cut the bottom pieces of the cut file off. That was supposed to be for a stick, but I'm actually using real popsicle sticks instead. I have these little mini ones in my stash, and I decided to pull those out and use actual real sticks on mine instead, and I just glued them down with some Nuvo glue, but it didn't dry fast enough to my liking, so I ended up just using some Scotch tape for extra reinforcement as well. I'm backing that little heart with one of the other pattern papers from that small paper pad in that light kind of bluish green shade. I just thought that looked really pretty behind the darker shades of blue, and I'm just going to leave that one how it is. I'm not going to do anything else to it. You could do some stitching across those layers if you wanted to, or some stitching around the outside of the popsicle. I thought that would look pretty cool, but for time's sake tonight, I needed a quick and easy layout, so I'm going to go ahead and just leave that guy how it is and go ahead and start backing this other popsicle with some of the other pattern paper. So I loved this little wavy kind of stripe design. It's in different colors, and I just backed that one manually with those 3 different pattern papers to create a really fun popsicle. And then here I've got some cheesecloth from the shop as well. I love using this stuff on beach layouts. I just cut a strip, a pretty good strip. It's probably about like 4 or 5 inches wide, maybe even as wide as 6 inches. And then I just kind of like pull and tug at it, tug at the ends, rough up the edges, and then just kind of crinkle it or let it fall onto my page kind of wherever it wants to go, and just wrap it kind of in and behind my elements, and I just kind of let it be wherever it wants to go. So I'm going to work in some embellishments around this. This one here I actually grabbed from one of the branding strips on one of the other patterned full 12 by 12 sheets, and they have little cut apart pieces on the branding strips in this collection. This is again the Beach Vibes collection by 49 and Market, if I didn't mention it already. And I love that the branding strips are usable and you can cut little pieces off and use them on your pages as embellishments. So I've cut that off and I've used that, and then I'm just going to pop up these popsicles with some 3D foam tape. I've got my jumbo foam tape roll here from my stash, and I'm just going to use that just to finish popping that up. Since that popsicle stick does add some dimension, I decided to just even out the dimension on the rest of the popsicle, so that everything is like pretty much the same height there. Then I've grabbed some rub-ons from this collection. I really love these rub-ons. I did find them a little bit harder to work with just because I'm tucking them in behind this popsicle stick, and I did have a little bit of difficulty getting them to transfer, but as soon as I rubbed them on, I just had to rub them on a few times, and after I did that, I just kind of rubbed on as I was peeling it back, and then that seemed to work out a lot better for me rather than just doing a quick rub on and then trying to peel it off and it was still stuck there. So yeah, I found it just worked easier and better for me as if I just did the rub on transfer kind of as I was peeling up that edge, if that makes sense. So you'll see me here do a rub on transfer with my bone folder here once, and it's still kind of stuck to my transfer sheet. So I did just kind of start working at it just little bit by little bit, and it just made it work out so much easier. I don't know if these were made by a different company or what, but usually 49 and Market rub-ons are so easy to work with, but I had a little bit of trouble with these ones. But once I figured out how to work with them to make it easier, then it was perfectly fine. And I'm going to actually add a word phrase to the bottom, and you'll see me really utilize that technique where I just work at it as I'm peeling it off, and it goes on so much easier. So I've got more jumbo foam tape roll here. I'm just adding a little bit more adhesive. I do add a little bit of the Deluxe Nouveau adhesive to the stick itself. That way I can stick that down to my page as well and just give it a little bit extra reinforcement. So I know that's not going to go anywhere over time, and it's going to stick nicely down to my page along with that cheesecloth. So I'm just going to add a few more embellishments here. I went ahead and cut that branding strip off. I did like the phrase on it, but it didn't really go anywhere on my layout. I didn't want to cover up my little rub-on surfboard, so I ended up not using that. I'm just going to add some Pinkfresh Studio Alpha letters here. These are some puffy letters from, I think the collection was called Let's Stay Home. I think that's what it was. But they unfortunately are not in the shop anymore. They are sold out and they've been in my stash for a while. So I'm actually really glad that I get to use them today. But these letters are in stock in the shop. These are the Luna Alphas and they are the shade Golf. It's called Golf, G-U-L-F, I think it is. Golf, if I'm spelling right. But yeah, I love that shade. It's like a really pretty kind of greenish blue, and it just goes really, really well with this collection. I've got the laser cut embellishments here. I'm just going to grab a few flowers, maybe some leaves off of this, and just kind of flip through these. These laser cuts are pretty cool. Instead of doing the die cut packs, they give you these laser cuts, and they are two-sided sheets. Well, it's like two sheets folded. They're kind of attached via our perforation, and you've got 4 sheets total in that whole pack, so you get a lot of items in these little packs of laser cuts, and I just love the way that they're cut out. They just have a really nice texture to them, and they're very easy to work with, and they take glue very, very nicely. You can use glue on these, you can use your adhesive tape run or anything like that to apply, and they will pretty much hold any type of adhesive. So that is really nice whenever you're working with different textures and different elements. Sometimes I find it's hard to find a good adhesive, but these guys, they adhere to your pages very, very easily. Now I've got the puffy stickers coming in. There's 2 sheets in this set, and I'm just using a couple things from the puffy stickers, nothing too crazy. I do also have some flair here, some canvas mini flair from Scrappin Happy Studio. I'm on their team as well, so I try to use their flair anywhere that I can, and it was just perfect for this layout. I grabbed a couple of those from one of her beach sets, and I'm just going to pop those on here and add some thread behind them when I get to that point, and I like to attach those to my layout using some glue dots. I usually use the medium-sized glue dots or Zots, whichever brand you prefer, and I usually add some thread in there too, and it attaches very nicely with that. Next, I'm going to pull out some of the chipboard pieces that come with this collection as well, and I'm going to add a few little bits to the bottom underneath my word sun. As you can see, I've used the theme to the max here, I guess you could say, because I took the theme Fun in the Sun and I actually used that as my title today, so it was just perfect for this one. My baby girl's eating a popsicle, which prompted me to grab that popsicle cut file from the shop and use that as my base on my layout. I loved this pattern paper, so of course I was going to use that on the background, and I just thought it was a nice kind of neutral pattern paper to use for a background, so you could use a lot of pops of color on top. So that's something I like to do. I like to use kind of a minimal background or a non-busy background, and then I can really use a lot of color when I'm embellishing or use colored photos, because if it's really, really colorful background, I tend to go with black and white photos just to balance everything out. Here's that rub-on transfer that I was talking to you about earlier. I just decided to do this one the easier way, which is just kind of work at it from one edge and just go a little bit at a time, and it seems to work a lot better doing it that way. Got those little shades that I'm adhering just with some Nouveau glue. And then here's my thread coming in. I've just chosen some gold thread today. I got these in a giant pack from somewhere at some point, but they've been in my stash for a while now, and I love them, and I just have all different colors of them. They're nothing fancy, not a certain kind of thread, nothing spectacular or pricey. I just got a giant pack of them, and that's what I use typically to do this thread in my layouts, and whenever I'm using them behind flair like this or tucking them in between embellishments, that's what I'm using. So you don't have to have anything expensive or anything like that. and I just used some glue dots to reinforce those. I've added some extra little bits along with this. I'm just gluing down the tails on these threads. That's going to dry up clear, so I don't have to worry about those little dots. You're not going to see them whenever it does dry. I think in my photos it was still a little bit wet when I took the photos of the layout right after I finished, but it's going to dry up clear, so don't worry. I've got another little puffy arrow that I've added, and then I'm just going to stamp my date down here with my Page of Its date stamp. So this is a hop. Here's the finished layout and what it looks like, but since this is a hop, make sure that you follow along with everyone down below and leave comments along the way from each of our videos. And then you can be entered into a drawing for a $25 gift certificate for the Cherry on Top shop. So I know everyone has some great inspiration, so make sure you check out their videos as well. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.